fellow guitarists. That was a course of the blues in the key of G, and kind of a basic chord pattern, which most of you already know. And to start this tape, I thought I'd play a couple of courses of the blues. Actually, it was 3 courses, I think. If you notice, I played a little intro. And in the course of my seminars and clinics, for the lack of a better word, clinics, I feel like I'm a doctor or something. I notice a lot of young guitarists that are very good players, but don't seem to know some of the basic procedures in playing with a group, or playing professionally, or playing before an audience. And one of the things is like learning to take and knowing how to take an intro, or taking an intro. I took a little intro on that blues just to show you that you should know how to take an intro on a tune, or have some, and it's not necessarily a chordal intro. It can be any kind. It can be single lines, it can be chords, combination, it can be that happened to be, I think, a 6-bar intro. It can be a 4-bar. Generally it's a 4-bar or 8-bar intro. And also one of the other things that the players don't seem to do strong enough, that I noticed, is that ending a tune, like kind of jamming the last 8 bars or last 4 bars out, knowing kind of knowing how to end a tune. It's quite important. It kind of shows where you're at in your playing or career or whatever. Now that was a basic blues pattern in the key of G. Key of G is a good key for the guitar. And while I'm at it, a couple other things. If you're a solo guitar player, keep out of the key of E and A and D. Play a couple tunes or 1 or 2 tunes in those keys, but do not play more than 1 or 2 tunes together in the key of E, A, and D, because my theory is that you start getting the drone sound of the E and A and D, and it doesn't matter what you play, how beautiful the chords are, and those chords can be very beautiful in the key of E and A and D because you have open strings, but you'll put an audience to sleep, and yourself too. So always try to play, if you play in the key of A, play maybe the next piece in the key of C or E flat or B flat, even though we all know that those are the prettiest sounding keys on the guitar. That was just an aside, had nothing to do with the blues. So anyway, I'm going to talk today a little bit about chord patterns and blues, and I'm using the blues as a format, and what to this is sort of off the top of my head, and what to do with a blues chord pattern, or what I would do with a blues chord pattern. So basically, I think we all know the 3 chords that go into the blues. In the key of G, I'll play maybe a 12 bars to show you the basic pattern. So here we go. Like that. Now, when I have a 1 chord, you can always use the 5 chord. So, you can always interchange the 1 chord with the 5 chord, and that gives you some motion. But so basically, you have G, C seventh, which is a change that you necessarily don't have to use, but I do, and most of the, let's say, big city blues players have this kind of a pattern. The C7, lots of times you go, there's no change involved there except just a half step. You can always move a half step into your chord. You can always play half step above the chord that you're playing. If it's G, you can always move A flat into G, which, by the way, A flat is the flat 5 of G, or the flat 5 of D, rather, and D, 7th, is the 5 of G. So, see the same voicing? Anyway, so here's the basic pattern again. G, C7th, G, here is your 5, back to your root, C7th, back to your 1 chord, here's your 5 chord again, now you can stay on your D7th chord, or you can go back to your C7th, which is done a lot. Here's your 5 chord again. So that is a basic blues. There's some little variations on those chord changes, but basically it's in the key of G, G, C7th, and D7th. Now, as you become more involved in playing the blues, you start to embellish them a little bit. So you might go like, first of all, those are plain dominant 7th chords, which is a good sound. You don't want to play chords like, it's too thick, too heavy. These are chords that you would use for rhythm section. The great Freddie Green played these kind of voicings. So now you can embellish a chord a little bit by adding 9ths, 13ths, raised 9ths, and not necessarily flat 9s. Flat 9 is not a change that you would want to play in the blues like it's a flat 9 voicing in the blues it's not wrong, but it's not a good sound. It's kind of takes away from the character of the music that you're trying to play when you're talking about blues. The raised 9 is a very good sound for it. So you can embellish your chord by adding 9ths, 13ths, or raised 9ths, and you'll get this kind of a sound. That's G7, D7, G7, C7, G9. This is C7 raised 9, G7, D7 raised 9. That is just moving 3 steps. You can do this too. You can always move, what is the word? Parallel? Up and down. You can always move 3 or 4 frets up and back and forth from the chord to the chord that you're going to. If it's a D9, you can always do. What makes it sound right is if you use embellish your harmonies a little bit. If you use plain, you get sort of a country western sound, but if you use 9ths or raised 9ths, if you add color tones, I call them color tones, to your harmonies, you get a better sound. And it's generally a very good idea to follow suit. If you use a certain form in your voicing on the guitar, to continue to use the same form not to change from, not to make a big change. In other words, if I'm doing this on D7th and I'm going to G, I might as well go. And that is exactly the same form. Only I changed the root. It's like voice leading, and it's like writing for, arranging for saxophones and things like that. It's a good idea to follow suit, to keep the same form, and just move it back and forth. You have better harmonies. Now I'll play 12 bars with some added tones to my chords. In this case, 13ths, 9ths, raised 9ths. Here's my D7th, which is the 5. That's my G7th, which is also a raised 9, which is could be D flat, which is moving a half step. C7. Raised 9th. G7th. D7th, raised 9. C7th, C9th it is. G. D9th. D7th, raised 9. Now that's really very, very, very basic. All you're doing is playing from G on a G7th, C7th, and a D7th change. And what you're doing is just adding some color tones, raised 9ths and 9ths, but we haven't changed any of the chord pattern. We have kept to the basic chord pattern, which if you're really a beginner would be like... what you're playing. So now we have to take that to a higher plateau. I like that word, plateau. Let's see. So now, we already did that. We added some color tones, I call them, added 9ths and 13ths.